So cool. So I can't wait to hear everything because it's been an exciting week.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm excited to hear your story. What you found out. You dove so deep. You went down the rabbit hole with the Bardo, and then with all the PHS. And I don't know where you're at right now, because last night it was evening for me, but it was day for you. So you had a whole day.
Well, the thing that ended up being really powerful in terms of research was that when we were looking through all those documents looking for the PHS, I had come across something that Richard had written. I don't remember exactly what the document was.
The A to D of
The A to D of human design. And so I was reading through, I started, reading through, I was just scrolling through it. And then I was like, oh, what does he say about projectors? So I go in there, and the big question for projectors that he asked is, what does recognition truly mean for me? And then I was like, oh, well, if that's the projector question, what's the generator question? And he didn't, excuse me, he didn't have a question per se, but he had something that I made into a question, and that is, for the generator, do I have the courage to see what is delivered to my door?
Makes sense.
Right?
If life comes to you instead of initiating life. It's how I understand it. It's like the most easy example is, you want to go on a holiday because you need a rest, you want a break, and then you drive somewhere and you see an advertisement, a billboard saying Costa Rica, for example. You go like, oh, that looks nice, and you forget all about it. 1 week later, you're looking TV, and an advertisement comes by, whatever, maybe a drink that comes from a fruit from Costa Rica, and you're being reminded again. You go like, oh yeah, Costa Rica. And then like a third time somebody mentions, I went to Costa Rica, and you go like, like the third time going like, wow, I need to go to Costa Rica. So that's how it comes to you. I'm not looking for where do I want to go, but it comes to you through signs.
Right. Yep, that's it exactly. So yesterday I wrote with Scott. We have our writing group, and we always start with a question. And sometimes he comes up with the questions, and sometimes I come up with the questions. But I was like, how about these questions? What is recognition for me, and for this other one? And I think it was some of the most powerful writing that we did. Our process is that we start with a question and we write for 30 minutes on our own, and then we connect and we share what we wrote. And it was really powerful for me, because when I just sat with that question, my second and first chakras started buzzing. And I could feel that in my body. And then I suddenly had like windows to aspects of my life or scenes from my life when I was recognized, and how when I was younger, I was afraid of that recognition. I felt really seen, and it was a bit scary, and I feel like in my earlier life, when I was recognized, I felt like it was about the other person and not about me. Does that, make sense? So then that was scary.
Yeah.
And I feel like I used weight as a way to keep people from seeing me, which, you know, it doesn't, as a projector, it doesn't matter how much weight you have, you're still going to be seen. People are still going to recognize you because it's not about the weight, it's about your energy, right?
Yeah.
So then now, you know, through the writing, I came to this aha that there's a difference between fearlessness and courage.
Mm-hmm.
And fearlessness is just the capacity to just move through something and go for it. Courage is where you have the wisdom to discern, is this the thing for me to move into or not?
Yes, love it.
And the courage to say yes or no.
Exactly.
And, you know, and so much of what I've read, and what I'm in my own experiment, I see when I'm recognized, and I feel it. And it's that courageous discernment of, you know, do you have the courage to feel into, is this the right recognition to actually act on?
Right.
Or not?
And then even if it will give you pleasure because you have that root, you know, the channel to the solar plexus. Yeah.
And so that was super powerful yesterday for me, to really sit with that. And it really is the thing that prompted me to write, okay, this is what, you know, because that immediately I was like, let me look at my North Node again. Because, you know, it's such a complex, you know, you start with strategy and authority, right? Okay. So I'm by my natural shore, and I understand why this natural shore is the place that I pivot from, you know, it's the place that I transition from. And so my natural shore is aligning me, you know, if I'm in the right environment, it's going to align me with the people. I just have to be patient, live my life, enjoy myself, whatever, do whatever I do until the invitations come in. Then I got to trust that those invitations are going to come in. And then when they do, it's to trust that, you know, no truth in the moment, because I'm emotional. So then just, okay, that came in, just, you know, feel it. Does it come back? What does it feel like when it comes back?
Right.
And what's the fine tuning that happens when it comes back? And then it hit me that, oh, my body has been telling me, you don't need to you don't need to apply so much effort to this Bardo text. Because it was just bouncing me to the things that I needed to see or research, the rabbit holes that I did need to go down to.
Right.
And then the courage was to write to you and say, oh, so then I was back to the complex, you know, I'm like, okay. So then I was like, something was like, go look at your North Node. And so then I was looking at the 29 and the devotion, and I love how Karen Curry Parker has that. And I was like, oh, and then I was like, oh, body, what do you want to recognize about devotion right now? And, you know, I saw you and I was like, oh, so I'm devoted to our co-creation, and I like totally lit up. And then I was like, oh, so this is not about me, you know. A college class in the Bardo. No.
It's just a topic for our commitment to each other. Yeah.
And then I was just like, oh, all I have to do is show up because I have everything I need. Right. And she already recognizes that. So then it's the courage to say that to you, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So all of that from, you know, my rabbit holes yesterday.
I love these rabbit holes that go like, I always see when I have a conversation, and even with us, we go like a tree. We start somewhere, we have a topic, and then we go all the way up into the branches and the leaves and the fruits, and then we go back down, or not. But you went down to the roots, and the roots go everywhere into the ground, and it gets its nourishment. One way it gets it from the right, and then another day it gets it from the left, and whatever, or it gets the nourishment from another tree, so I love it, because now we went up and we went down, and yeah, wow.
And just paying attention to so there have been days where I was like, oh, I need to get through the Bardo stuff. And then I would be like, okay, tomorrow I'm going to, have 2 hours to listen to those tapes. And, it was like going through mud. And then I was then when you sent me the text and I'm reading through, and I was like, oh, I like this way better. And I'm reading it because I can go through it really fast. But I read 3 lines and then I contemplate what he says. And then that that goes, no, I think I want to look at this. And then suddenly, an hour and a half has gone by and I've been, researching something else with so much joy, and there's no stickiness or mud, and so it just, it's incredible.
I'm just so glad and so happy that you have like the same process as me, because that's why I haven't done a lot of stuff, because I start with something and I know I have the channel focus and concentrations and I need to go step by step, but my step by step for me doesn't mean it has to go straight forward. It can go like a tree, go to this branch because it started here. And one way or another, I will be directed back if that is the right, correct step. Because the funny thing is that came through for me today by looking at a friend's chart again, because my best friend, she asked me this weekend, like, her hubby is a generator or a manifesting generator, right? I said, oh, I thought he was a generator, I'm not sure. So I was reminded, suddenly it came to me like, oh, I have to check if he's a manifesting generator or a generator. But he's like the real manifesting generator, the pure manifesting generator, because he has the 34, the 57, and the 20. So yeah, he's like the busiest bee I have ever seen. So I texted that back. And I also see his patterns which make him go a little bit in trouble. So I went to look back at the chart, like, what is it? Where does he get into trouble? And I saw the 952. And I was reminded of my own manifesting generator energy going all over the place. I have it in my Saturn, the 952. So I have to come back to the step-by-step way to know, that came to me, to know what the right step, next right step is for me. What's logical for me, not what is logical for the world or for anybody else, but what is my correct next step. And sometimes it is starting with the Bardo, and like you go like, what do I have over here which relates to that? And then when I go to here, I go like, oh, but that relates to that. And then I go to there, and I'm all the way gone from the Bardo. So I was already like, oh, she's going faster than me. But now you're in my same rabbit hole, going everywhere. I love it.
There's something about that too for me, because if there's a story, I'll remember it. I can learn the most complex story, and you just, or tell it, it's like your process is almost like a story.
Yeah.
And the things that you're researching, I hypothesize, will stay with you forever, because you'll remember that process. Oh, I started here and then I went there, and then that made that connection, and that made this connection. So it'll be the story that helps you.
Yes, remember. And again, a funny thing is that I talked to my husband this afternoon about it, how important it is for me, at least, but also to the people that I spoke to last week, and again this week with the brother Dominic, is all the feedback that I got from him. How I can't even repeat the beautiful words that he said to me, but I was shown a mirror in a way that Mark said I should look at myself, but still have a little trouble with. So there were so many reminders. But anyway, it was about me sharing human design in a story way and not in a teaching way. So that's why I always say I'm not a teacher, but why can't a teacher be somebody who tells stories? Then I said to my husband, because that's the way how I learn. It's through stories. So that's why I also watch so many videos on YouTube from all these different other human design people that share their stories. And there's one lady, I forgot her name, but she does like a story every week. And because she shares it in a story with an example, a real life example or not, I don't know, I can't check. But that's the way I remember the logic in that story. I don't know, there's a logic in story for me. For me, it's not abstract, so to speak, but it's my way of learning and then expressing to other people. Yeah.
So this is, you're really singing to the park, because my degrees are in literature, and then my doctorate was in reading, tell me a story.
Yeah.
Or let me tell a story, so yeah, so I guess I have a question for you. What story do we want to tell?
Yeah. The first thing that immediately popped up was our story. And I think that's what we're already doing with sharing and recording, is we share our story. We are sharing, like, completely open our journey of our experiment and the things that we have found. And I think if you think about fractal lines and that there are certain people for everybody, that there are people that are as the same as us. They learn and remember, because remembering is also a part of my design. I want to say they can pass it forward, they can hold it, they can remember it, and then they can share it again. And again, this ripple effect comes back to me. The ripple effect, that word comes, at least the last 2 weeks have come up so many times. The ripple effect. So there's something in there.
So a story I would like to tell.
Yes.
If you can I share?
Yes, absolutely.
Because I'm listening to you, and what it evokes in my field is this. So in that A to D, Richard's book A to D, one of the things that he has is these case studies. And I was completely pulled into the one about the open G, and I was like, oh my gosh, I definitely want to contemplate this with Corinda. So what he was showing was, the example was a couple, and the husband had the open G, and the wife had a defined G, and he showed how through that channel the husband was defined, and the definition kept the husband close to home and committed to that family life. And then the husband has this friend, and so he goes to the friend, and when he's with the friend defines this channel that makes him an adventurer. So when he's with the friend, he's like, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do this, I want to do that. And he does, it evokes in him those things. And so then the wife doesn't like the friend so much, because when he's with the friend, he leaves her and his commitment to home and family and her and their relationship. And the husband, the friend doesn't really like the wife so much, because when the husband's with the wife, the friend thinks, oh, he's not living his adventurous spirit. And it's all really about how they're conditioning and defining him. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I went down that rabbit hole, and I was like, oh, well, what channel is it that it's the I think it's a
4629 for Trey?
Yes. So then I'm like, okay, how is he conditioning me? I marked it and I can't find it. I was like, oh, I gotta talk to Corinna about this, because wait, let me find it in Karen's book. where did my little post-it must have come out? There it is.
Which
The
page?
channel, in her book, it's on page 127.
I can read along with you.
And so it's the channel of discovery or the channel of dedication.
Right.
And responding to the right opportunities.
Which was in your North Node, right?
Right, to avoid devoting yourself to the wrong things. And the optimal expression is, you know, the ability through responding to dedicate yourself to fulfilling the potential of the human story on the physical plane, success through committed devotion, the embodiment of fulfillment of potential. And so, you know, Trey's conditioning me to devote myself to the right thing, which is my North Node.
Right. Wow. Wow.
And I thought, wow, that's fascinating, you know.
And when we're together, we will have that same channel because I have the 46.
Oh my goodness.
And that's
That's
what Mark
fascinating.
also addressed something to. At least I heard it in what he was sharing.
Oh, that's fascinating. Can we maybe look at that really quickly? Because I don't remember
I don't know if it's in your notes.
things that he talked about all converge. But I guess the thing that's hitting me the most powerfully right there in this moment is that we have work to do together to bring forth.
Yeah.
So that's a, you know, and we have almost 20, you know, almost 2 decades to do it,
right.
And to do it in balance.
Right.
So,
you want to share screen or do you have it?
Do I have what?
You wanted to say you wanted to see the document.
Oh no, I was going to pull up the note.
Okay.
I have it right here on my.
Okay.
I have it in the note, like in the text that, but then it was just coming to me what all the different things. But I think a major thing is that the balance in Libra, where he says, you know, you're here to bring something forward, but you're also here to be friends and to support each other on your journeys, which I think relates to the unbalanced expression of the 2946, that the failure to commit and succeed results in burnout, which is such a paradox, right?
Yeah,
so
but it makes so much sense. You being a projector, meaning you are here to guide the generator's energy. Me being a manifesting generator, but having a sacral. And then in astrology saying, you know, preventing from burnout, it's like perfect.
So, you know, we won't get to overcommitment if we stay in that Libra part of our relationship of balance.
Right.
And if we actually do something and move forward. But I really love the whole idea of telling a story about our lives on this journey. And that to me, I mean, in a sense, what we're doing through our conversations is telling the story of our journey.
Exactly. Yeah.
And how we arrive at something that, you know, brings awareness for others. I really think about this. It relates to this. So as a projector, I'm here to guide, and I'm not, you know, for projectors, it's not really learning about yourself, that we learn about ourselves through others. But I feel like what's happening right now, or maybe it's is that you bring something to me, the Bardo, and
yeah, I'm kind of inviting you into my world. Because you didn't, you were with Unlucky Design, but you shared with me that you almost did not know a lot about human design. And my start was with human design. So I kind of responded to that call, and I kind of invited you then backwards into my human design world. And I just felt so excited that you were interested in my world.
And I love this world because, you know, one of the things that I've studied, so it's like you invited me, and then I'm reading, and I'm using myself as the case study, applying it as I go along. But then it's just like me reading Richard's A to D and seeing the projector question, then going right away, what's the generator question? You know, and then looking at that, you know, and I was like, oh, you know, and then asking that of you, asking that of Scott. And so, you know, it's a pathway in, but to have this whole discussion about the G.
It was interesting what you texted me yesterday about Trey. And you, how he conditioned you, and the other way. Well, not the other way around, because he has a defined G.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, wow.
Where did I'm looking, because I'm so in the moment with you when we're texting that I don't even remember. Oh, yeah. And what prompted me was Ra's discussion of the 2.2.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and then the 29 being my north node, right? Isn't that in this devotion?
But what fascinates me is because I hadn't really thought about it. I knew it, of course, I'm aware of it, that my husband is the vessel of love, having a fine G, and how I feel when I'm with him, how I felt when I fell in love with him. I also can observe how he conditions me to kind of follow his lead, and then me going, I'm not going to follow your lead because I have the cross of leadership. I'm going my own way. You know, I have the 2.3. So I want to bump into things and experience things, and there's no fixed way for me. So I'm very aware of that. So that's why I can pull out of that energy. But what was fascinating for me too was me again thinking about our connection from the sacral to the G. You not having a defined sacral, me not having a defined G, but together we have the 214, the channel of the beat, and we have that 6429 saying yes and no, and the love of the body. And I feel a fluidity in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm feeling that right now as you bring
and
our
even
awareness.
then, if the conversation in the moment by text, we are kind of then in the flow. We're exciting each other. We're giving each other energy, even through the quantum field.
That's, I mean, so powerful. You know, I'm covered in chicken skin. There's something to notice, you know, as we have that experience. And this whole thing, you know, made me contemplate, okay, well, who else's field am I in, and how are they conditioning me, and how do I become aware of that conditioning? And I mean, with Trey, I guess it's a benefit to me because it's like he supercharges my devotion. Right. And as long as I use my authority,
right,
and say yes or no to the things that are within my authority,
right,
then I'm in alignment.
Right. How do you feel? What is the sentence that your authority is giving you when Trey is conditioning you and you feel like a yes or a no? How do you... Why is it a yes and why is it a no?
Yeah, before, because of that devotion to being married and being a partner, I didn't feel I could say no. I always just said yes because he was my husband and he asked me to do it.
Right.
You know, I didn't, even when I knew I didn't want to, or that wasn't the best thing, I would just do it. And now I don't do that. And he likes it better when I don't.
Yeah.
He, you know, he is happier when, you know, he's totally fine with the no. And I'm totally fine with his no. We don't, you
Right.
know, that's something that's
Yeah.
always, but you know, sometimes he'll make a joke about it. Like, oh darn, I can't, you know, I can't get you. And I'm like, nope. I don't have anything to prove.
Right. Exactly.
And my emotional way is saying no. And he'll chuckle, you know, because sometimes he wants what he wants and he
Right.
knows that he just wants it. But he also knows that, no, I don't really want it. I just think
Right.
I want it. I'm happier
Right.
when she's in her alignment, you know.
Right.
So
Yeah.
for me, it's having the courage to really, you know, if it's not a yes, it's a no.
Right.
If it's not a yes, it's a no. And, you know,
And then
there's really,
respecting each other in I love that when you just what you just shared, because it's the same for me, because I don't have I have an open ego also, so that's why I have nothing to prove. And my husband has a defined G and also having or a defined ego center, heart center, also having the 21 and me having the 45, but he's the one in control. And we had that discussion also today. But what I wanted to share was about when I say no, when you want something for us to do together or to go somewhere or whatever proposal, and I say no, I can say, why don't you go alone? And then he goes like, yeah, but I like it better when we go together. And I go like, but I really don't want to do it. I feel nothing when I think about doing that with you. And then I encourage him to still go do it by himself or with somebody else.
mm-hmm,
And that's really respecting each other's authority and design.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful example of the encouragement.
Exactly. Yeah.
Trey's never really had a problem going on his own or doing what he wants on his own. He's pretty, you know, he's in his own world and he'll just go. But I love that question, because how many people haven't thought to ask that question? And
Right.
Such an important, it's kind of for me like a next step of, okay, you have the awareness that you don't want to go, but if you're with a generator, asking them the question so that they can then either have their splenic response or their sacral response,
Right. Yeah.
can help them on their journey.
Absolutely. I can even remember from that guy from Hawaii, John something. I remember that he said that a generator should just ask the generator, would you like to go to a movie? And then the other say, go, I don't know. Do you want to go to a movie? And the other then feels inside his body and go, yeah, I think I would like to go to the movie. And then the other one responds with, yeah, I think I want to go too. And then they go. It's that simple. But it's all about, it's all about asking that question and waiting for that response, whatever it is. Even because I have more contact now with Dominic, who's also a projector, and then me knowing how to invite him or feel invited, and then asking the question in a certain way so he can respond from his spleen, or inviting him to use his spleen to give a certain answer or to do a certain thing. Mm-hmm. And then getting the feedback, oh, I love that. I will do that. You know? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is bringing me to something that was in Richard's A to D that was also very powerful. He said that, he writes that projectors often treat other people how they want to be treated. And how that's not the way forward. And I was like, oh my gosh. I mean, how much not self that has put me in. That has put me in relationships where that choice, that internal choice, kept me in relationships too long. I went into relationships that were not in alignment. I stayed too long. I proved, I mean, and I was like, wow, that is so powerful. I might have to go back and reread some more of that. But
For me, it all comes down again, what I have been saying for almost my entire life. Everything comes back to the right communication. But what is right communication? And now knowing human design, for me, it feels like respecting each other's perfectly unique design. And by becoming aware of everybody's design around you, or getting to know when you just met somebody, it gives so much, like, oh, okay, it's nobody's fault. There's no one to blame, nobody to point a finger at. And it's all explainable why some people match with you and some people don't, why you can communicate or not. And when you can't, but you see there's a potential for good communication, but they're in their shadow or not self, you know how to work on it, because there's a whole mechanics. There's plenty of books out there to make you aware of, wow, I'm being my not self when I'm not communicating, or when I'm communicating from a place that's not me. And then when you are starting to communicate from the heart, that's what came up from the heart, from your pure self, from your real self. That's where the real power lies, I want to say. Yeah.
so much so.
And I feel the grace in that. Each time the grace comes back.
Right? I've caught myself in the last month or so, maybe 2 months, I don't know. But I love saying it. There's this Taylor Swift song, and the chorus is, "It's me, I'm the problem, it's me." So, when I've caught myself, I just start laughing. I go, "Oh, it's me, I'm the problem, it's me."
And well, if you make a nice word out of it, it is. We're always, almost everybody in the not self is pointing outward. But once you have the courage to go inward, and I was talking about it with the brother also, when we start looking inward, there's no one to blame, shame, or guilt, point a finger at, or it's all you. It's because of all these layers of maybe trauma or not self, is that we create a perspective that's maybe not even ours. But when we get clear, we get the perspective, a clear perspective. And now I'm reminded of how Lavina even explained it, like you have a car and all these windows are dirty, and then you start wiping. When you decondition, you start wiping those windows and they can become clear, and then you are able to see what you're here to see.
Yeah.
And then there's no judgment, there's just something to see.
Just something to see.
But if there's dirt on it, you go like, I don't see anything. There's a judgment, and you blame the other. But you just
the dust storm or the rainstorm, whatever.
Right.
The bugs that hit your windshield instead of, yeah.
If the bugs bite me, I should have brought lotion. It's that simple. It's not the bugs. It's me.
Or your body's calling the bug to bite you so that you can have some experience, right?
Exactly. There's no wrong or right. There's only experience. Right. That's been my phrase for a long time now. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But that's maybe because I have 35, 36, which for me is all about life's experiences, or learning through life's experiences. And that brings us back to the story, to sharing stories. And what I said to my husband this afternoon also, because of the stories, it's relatable, because everybody can recognize him or herself within a story, whatever part. We can learn from books, and there it's very, that's a good thing. But when I'm thinking about even a mechanic who learns from the books, and then he gets like a real car in front, and then it's suddenly a little bit different than in the books, because every car is different. And then, then he has to learn from experience. he's got the basics from the book, but for me, life's experience is, yeah, it can be rough, but it's a ride.
Right. If we're willing to be on it, you know, if we're willing to be on it. Yeah, part of the aha, like with the Bardo, is I don't need to read all of that for you to ask me a question, for me to go into the lifetimes, the millennia of wisdom and pull out what I'm capable of pulling out, you know, and it's all there. It's just waiting to be unlocked and to trust that.
For me, the Bardo is not even about knowing what happens when you die and what's behind that veil. It's more that I don't know, I was just fascinated that there was, again, a cycle for it. You know, that was kind of mind-blowing, because we all think it's like, yeah, it just happens because you don't eat well or you get sick, whatever. But that's not true. It's not true. Oh. There's just, we have so many coins, like he says, and that's the serotonin. And when that's gone, so when you're born, there's already a time ticking for this vessel, this vehicle to, you know, to degenerate. Is that the word? Degenerate?
Yeah. Oh, I think one of the biggest gifts the Bardo has given me, besides thinking about what you just said, is this intimate relationship with the moon cycles.
Yes, yes.
You know, like right this minute, the moon's in 19, which activates, which gives me a channel, the 1949. And I have been contemplating how much energy I experience through the gift of the moon.
Right. So you're sensing, or you're feeling in your body, that you have peaks of energy when it's somewhere connecting with your sacral? How cool is that?
Almost all of them. I've had something.
Yeah, but because the sacral is so important as a, well, there are more motives. That's right. You're go ahead. I was just
no. I mean, like there were days where I was just dragging and there was no channel expression, just hanging gates. And then I would go into days where there were channels, and what I'm doing is I'm not looking at it ahead, I'm looking at it behind, because I don't want it to condition me. So I'll go a couple of days and then I have those days experience in my mind, and then I come back to my sheet and I go, okay, let's see, 2 days ago I was filled with energy, and then I write that down. Yesterday I, you know, was draggy, you know, I write it down. So, you know, or happy day, or just some general comments, you know. And I'm noticing that when I have a whole channel expressed, how much energy flows. And then I was, you know, it's like the moon gives me access to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
20. I remember.
8. Yeah. So that's 10 days. So 14 days of the month, I have some channel that is expressed, whether it's, you know, the few that are on my own or with the moon. I mean, that's incredible. What an incredible gift. Yeah. And then to layer that on with this Bardo sequence going, okay, you know, reading the other day about how he, Ross says between the 10 and the 3, we can be depressed.
Yeah.
You know, that is a possibility, because it's triggering, do you want is it time for the end, you know?
Right.
And then I started wondering, what about when that cycle aligns with the full moon? Is it even that much more powerful? You know, this month, it was right, the full moon was right before the 32, which is that last part of the sequence, correct? Because it's 10, 3,
10, 3, 2,
2, and
20,
then
29.
29. Why do I have 32?
32 is when we come together. It's about and the 6th of April. And then it's a full moon again. And then it's a 32.
There's the 29. Let's see.
I believe it was endurance. The 32 is endurance. I thought by head.
Oh, okay. So we
Endurance.
just had the
From
the
spleen.
29 on the 10th. So I kind of entered the cycle before I entered at the end at the 32. I think he was like, once you've clicked in, it's after the 2, because between the 5 and the 3, it's still open. And then the 2 isn't it the 2.2, the action?
Right.
Mm-hmm. Where you truly decide, and then you go through the 32, then the 29. So I entered this moon cycle before the 32, but like when we were in the 10, I had just the happiest day, the 11th and the 12th. It was really powerful. So I think to myself, what a lovely way to experience the month, and also to experience human design.
Yeah.
And 3, so we're about a fourth of the way through that. So I'm kind of paying attention. How are people around me?
Right.
Are their spirits high?
Right.
Are they struggling, or what's going on in their world? It's just interesting to me.
You just reminded me of, I made screenshots when I shared with you that I had these vivid and happy dream.
Yes.
Amazingly wonderful dream. And it was in the 58, remember? And I have the other side, 18, and it's a channel of like joyfulness. So now it kind of clicked for me, like, oh, wow. Of course, I have to dive deeper into that channel. And of course, I am aware that there was also a sleep design. So that's I kept it out because I was like, it's too much already to go dive into and to connect to. But it would be fun to maybe, at some point even go from that moon cycle, the day moon cycle, to go to the sleep moon cycle, and maybe to see what it does in the sleeping design chart, and then noticing what happens in the dream.
Yeah, I'm super excited to see if next month on the 50, when we go into the 58, if it's at night, do you have happy dreams
kind of the same? Yeah.
Wow, huh?
Yeah. And I also remember that you shared in the chat with me about looking at your father's chart and then seeing the cycle.